Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am the stepson of Krypton,
And I am Mantis.
and today we are going to be following up with our discussion on the Fallout series. This is going to be over episodes 5 and 6. So after this, we will only have 2 more to go. Mantis, are you excited?
Yeah, it's been great so far. So should be a good little talkie.
Now, you've only seen up to 5 and 6, like you haven't watched the other two? Okay,
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna try to make sure I don't spoil anything that happens in the other two. So I'm gonna let Mantis do a lot of the talking on this because I can't do what he does. He's good with that. I need to know what happens, so I got to binge watch it and find out. I don't like not knowing. It's kind of a thing. So Mantis, what do you say we get on into the discussion?
Let's go.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get on into this discussion. Mantis, do you want to lead off with episode 5?
Yeah, I didn't even write again. I completely forgot to write the episode names for this, so I'm hoping you can look this up while I'm talking. Yeah, so this episode kind of starts off after, I guess, Maximus and the Squire guy that he's got. Is it? I forget his Squire's name now. Um,
Thaddeus.
Thaddeus, yes, are both kind of, I don't know, having like some fucking kumbaya moment after they avoided death.
Before we go back to the base,
And Maximus has still got this. I mean, he's still trying to play Titus, right? That's who Thaddeus thinks he is. And he's fucking, I don't know. Thaddeus kind of wants to suck his dick, I think. Wants to get branded by him, some weird sex cult thing. So he ends up doing it and finds out, or I guess after that, Maximus is like, oh, I'm gonna tell him who I am because we used to be buds back at the old cult shop that we left, and so he lowers his mask and shows him who he is, and Thaddeus loses his shit, and they get into this little weird fight thing where I don't understand. There's at one point where Maximus like has his foot pinned underneath this gigantic metal armor that there's no way you could get your foot out under, and it's probably broke. Why wouldn't he just leave his foot there and then grab his leg and rip him in half?
I'm gonna rip you in half now.
That is such a juggernaut thing to say.
Like, because the previous episode, you see him just go like this to some dude's head and crush his skull, right? So, like, you could easily caught him while his foot was pinned underneath your leg or your foot there, the power suit, the power armor, and just that would have been the end of that. But he does stupid shit, lets him do some weird, cool, like, I don't know, some ninja shit going between his legs, and then lets him grab his power core out of the back of him. Which I don't know. This is more of a question for you because I can't remember in the games you can't steal people's power cores out of their suit, but if you take you can't get stuck in the suit in the game. So, it's actually kind of funny because I wrote in my notes, it was like he gets stuck in the suit, right? And Thaddeus leaves with the head of the synth. And I was just like, man, how long was he in that before Lucy came up on him? And what if he had to take a shit real bad? Like, is it like just go, man?
I gotta stop and go to the bathroom. Just go, man.
Like, or maybe the suits have like some waste removal system. I don't know, but he had still been in the suit from the previous day, right? Because he couldn't leave the suit because Thaddeus would know who he is, and they had just fought the monster, the gulper or whatever it was. So yeah, he had to have smelled fantastic in that thing when Lucy let him out of it.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there first. First off, the episode is called The Past.
Okay.
That's they really went deep with the names here on these episodes, but
Yeah.
is the past. So the interesting thing is most of the time when you found power armor suits throughout the wasteland, especially since most of them weren't ever pieced together, like a lot of them were like the Raider types that only had a couple, but the frame was there. There'd be a power core. That's usually where you got most of your power cores. There'd be a one that's got like 3% still weighs the pound, so like you're debating on whether you can carry it or not. And then also when you go into big structures, you'd always see like the big terminal, it'd have a power core, and I know, we have talked about this and you kind of put in your notes for the episodes there that like, I don't know how these power cores are powering all this stuff. I could run maybe 3 minutes in a power armor in the game with a full fusion core, then you were done. And yeah, like, when the power core drained, the suit automatically opened.
Yeah,
kicked you out of it.
That's why
you can't use it anymore.
Right. I mean, in the show, it's not like the power core was drained. Like he just straight up pulled it out. So maybe that's just kind of a weird thing that happens. Yeah. But yeah. So Lucy finds him.
You'd think it was real quick. You'd think it would be a safety feature, right? That if the power core gets taken, it automatically opens. Because what if that happened? Yeah.
Bad design. And again, they kind of get into the bad design, I think, in the next episode of those power suits. But in retrospect, it's a weird design there. But Lucy does find him before he dies, obviously, and there's some rad roaches that try and eat him, but I don't think that ever happens in the game. The fucking rad roaches bounce off fucking power armor. But she kills those things, lets him out, and she starts throwing up because she's got radiation sickness, and I'm assuming that's just from drinking that shit water from the previous episode, or just walking around in the wasteland at this point. I think it's rads everywhere. It's even in minimal levels. So she gets sick, passes out. He kind of takes care of her with the rat away that he had. So it's not like he lost complete trust. I think he trusts certain people, and maybe he's just using her because, again, she does mention that she has the little blip on her pet boy homing beacon or whatever on the head. So he's got to stay with her without tipping her off that he's going to steal it. He's just there for the head, So yeah, so they start walking, they're kind of trekking along to go find the head. And, it kind of cuts, you get a little bit more backstory on Lucy's mom. And you find out that from Norm, he's going through like the computer systems, and you find out, because I think he'd previously said on the last episode or the last video we did, that 31, 32, and 33 are all linked. And you find out that both Hank and Betty were both from Vault 31, and Hank, I don't think we mentioned him. That's the father of Norman and Lucy. And so they're both from Vault 31. So that's a weird little interesting thing you find out at that point. It doesn't really go too deep into that at that point in that episode, but then it kind of cuts back to both Lucy and Maximus walking on this bridge, and they come upon these like two wanderers, settlers, could be raiders, could be scavengers, you don't really know. And they're just kind of feeling each other out. It was just a funny exchange of like, well, you got any gun? And they're like, no. Do you? No. He's like, you're lying. You do have a gun. He's like, give me the gun. Maximus knows what's about to go down, even though Lucy tries to see the good in everyone, right?
Well, it's like Ghostbusters, right? It's like, Ray, if somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes, right?
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
If somebody asks you if you have a gun, you say no.
Right. Yeah. So, they do this weird, like, walking past, which before that, sorry, I forgot to mention that they do kind of discuss the Brotherhood's past a little bit, on not only in the past, but like what they're doing, like what's the point of the Brotherhood, which is, of course, they iterate to, it's to gather pre-war tech and make sure they only have pre-war tech and no one else has pre-war tech. So, he kind of explains that. And I wrote in the notes that Lucy's de-escalation techniques are the same bullshit tactics that the crazy leftist police want to use. So it's like you can't. She's like, okay, everyone take a deep breath now. And Maximus he's just like, what are you doing? Like, so
Yeah,
they
but
start
the
walking.
difference is, I don't think Lucy's isn't coming from just being crazy. It's just being naive
No.
and being raised
Yeah.
in an environment where
Sheltered.
she's not had to do. Yeah, being fault
Sheltered.
sheltered.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. It's not. It's just how she was brought up and thinking everyone's fine. It's okay, and whatever. Always looking at the best in people. It's just the way I see it. She wants to be very positive. And then, this doesn't go too well. The one chick that's with the other guy there that they're trying to pass, I guess, gets a smell of her and wants to eat her. So they turn out to be cannibals, obviously. But Maximus gets shot, right? And he's like, there's a flesh wound. We get shot all the time or whatever.
Admittedly, a flesh wound. He's missing a fucking arm.
Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look, it's just a flesh wound.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
reference.
I put in. I was like, well, I feel like they could have gone way better if they had used their VATS, which kind of a thing we haven't discussed yet is the VATS system from the game, which is basically like a slowed down. Not Fallout 76, but in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, there's a VATS system where you slow down time and can target different limbs and areas of the enemy you want to shoot. A live action or a live game or a live service
live action.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a live.
action.
Yeah, it's a live service game, so you can't slow down time when there's multiplayer. So basically, it just kind of zeroes in on body parts that you can shoot. But in any event, I wrote they should have used VATS because it probably would have went better for them. Didn't pick up that perk card for that apparently. So, yeah. So that fight, that little engagement was kind of weird, but yeah, I don't know what you thought about the whole fight scene, gunfight there, and the interaction they had.
Well, like it's funny because when she's with Maximus and she's debating about helping him get out of the suit, right? You see the realization that Lucy is losing trust in people in this world because everybody she's met has been terrible. And then, she comes to the very and she trusts Maximus, so she lets him out and everything goes okay. So then she meets this next group of people and she's like, that spark of hope's kind of back, right? Like she wants to trust again. And it's the next bad guy for her. Like, he's not the right guy for her. And, all of a sudden it's shattered again. And, it's like every time she loses a little piece of herself to kind of, succumbing to the wasteland.
Yeah. Well, and then kind of the show switches then to back into Vault 33 at that point where they had the election, right? And I put this note in there because I don't know why it just caught me as funny because the one you had the one white dude who ends up voting for Betty, even though he's running.
Was that the guy? Well, so the guy in front of him that just kept calling out that he's not voting for him. Like, I was like,
and he's like, I don't care. Vote for whoever you want. Like, I don't care. And he's like, I'm voting for Betty.
But I feel like he kind of swayed his decision because that guy, the guy running, ends up voting for Betty too.
Yeah, like, he gets in there and he's like, yeah, he's running. Who doesn't vote for themselves? Like, who doesn't do that? And so, yeah, he's like, who am I kidding? And then he votes for Betty. And then, so after all that's done, Betty wins, obviously. I forget who's talking to the other guy that was running to, because there was Betty, the one dude that was in line that didn't vote for himself, and then the other guy. I can't remember his name. Yeah, the fat guy. So he was talking. I don't know who he was talking to in the hallway, but he's like, oh, that's tough luck, so and so. And he's like, I know, I put up 10 posters. And I'm just like, oh, well, don't overdo it. Like, you wonder why you lost.
Resources are limited, right? Like, it's not like you have an infinite amount of paper and this, that, and the other, or at least I wouldn't imagine, right?
I don't know, man. They put up posters and they do this every.
They have computers, right? You could have sent out videos. Maybe he could have done a Vault Tube video. I don't know what you want to call it. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. It just was funny. I wrote that because it's the way he said it. He thought like that was enough. Like he should have won because he put up 10 posters about vote for so and so, vote for me, right? Like for overseer. It just was funny. Um, yeah, and you know, I think at that point, you know, Maximus and Lucy end up finding what's left of Shady Sands, with because there's a big fucking crater right left from what happened, and you know, Maximus is explaining to her that like, yeah, people wanted to save the world, they just disagree on how, and I think at that point she realized that you know reclamation day had already happened, which was the whole point of their vault. Like Vault 33, that's their whole point of existence was to get ready for Reclamation Day, which was like everyone comes out of the vaults and we make peace and we continue on the human experiment and the human race on Earth. And when she finds out that's already happened, it kind of just I wrote it like her whole entire existence from when she was a kid to now is just kind of flipped on its head. Um, and at that point, too, you find out that Maximus was from Shady Sands.
Well, and uh, correct me if I'm wrong, because I thought they mentioned it in a previous episode when he first meets Lucy and they're talking. And he said the bombs dropped when I was a kid, and she's like, "No, that you're mistaken. They dropped over 200 years ago." He's
Mhm.
talking about what happened in Shady Sands where he lived,
Right.
and when he came out as a kid and he saw the guy in power armor. That's what he's
Yeah.
talking about. She's thinking there hadn't been any other
The
surface
original.
dwellers. Yeah, she's talking about the
Yeah.
original. So that was kind of a weird. And then when you find out, oh, he's from Shady Sands, things start making a little more sense.
Mm.
But then also don't. Like,
Yeah. It's a weird thing. Why? Because yeah. So you know, after that, I don't know if Betty got some wind of some shit. I you know was maybe trying to ease things over, or it could be something even more sinister. But they cleaned up Vault 32, where all of, as you've seen from, I don't know, it was episode 2 or 3, I can't remember, but Norman, what's his name? Chet?
he's
I
your
forget.
favorite guy in the show, man.
I don't remember his name. The other guy. Um,
Chet.
they've, you know, yeah, they'd gone over and found all the dead bodies and all of the people that have wrote shit on the walls. What? So all that's just cleaned up, painted over. Like, who the fuck did that? Like, it wasn't anyone from Vault 33, right? Like they don't mention any of that. They don't show any of it. So you see a cleaned up Vault 32, like everything's fine. Oh, and she's like, we're gonna bring people from this vault, from Vault 33, half of you or whatever, will start a new colonization here in Vault 32. And there's and now I'm like, I can't remember if it's from this episode or 6, but there's a really weird interaction between Norm and the chick that was pregnant that had the kid about being from Vault 31, and because he asked about the mashed potatoes, because he asked his dad like, what's the difference between Vault 31 and Vault 33, and he's like, the mashed potatoes taste better, and then like she's like, oh yeah, that's exactly the difference. Like
No,
she had
so
no
what she
idea.
actually said is she said I would say the mashed potatoes were better, and he said, "Yeah, my dad used to say the exact same thing."
Okay. Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
lie. So she
Right.
says the
Like
lie, and he says, "My dad used to say the same thing," and they're both from 31, so it was sus.
it's just it's very sad. There's some weird shit going on from 31, if that's even a place anymore. Like it's just very strange. So
Was the
yeah,
slogan in
Betty
that episode about 31?
I don't remember.
Spoiler alert! If it wasn't,
It
I thought so because the election was happening.
could be. Yeah, it could be. Oh yeah, no, it was. It was. What did he say? Um
It's
oh, I
something
can't remember.
when you're basically you're in a crisis, whatever. When you're in something, vote Vault 31. Uh,
Yeah. When what did he say? When in
I'll look it up real fast.
oh
keep
it's
going
in
on
the
with the
same
episode here.
scene.
Keep going on with the
It's in the
episode
same
here,
scene
so
too.
we
Yeah.
just don't have dead
Anyway,
air.
yeah, Betty's a lying bitch. I wrote that down.
So I love that. I saw that in your notes, Betty lying bitch. I was like,
she's lying, man. She's lying about shit. She's lying. So and once they leave Shady Sands, I say once Lucy and Maximus leave Shady Sands, they come upon this medical center because they find out he's bleeding, pretty badly out of that wound that he got shot. So she's like, oh, let's go to this medical center. We can go in there and check out whatever. So she go in there. They fall down into this. Well, she goes in and he's like, don't go in there, Lucy. Don't. She goes in anyway, disappears. He goes in, gets locked in a room and falls through the floor. But there was one line, I think, that he mentioned because Maxim, she asked, like, what did you think was down in vaults? And he says, monsters. That's what we've always been told. Monsters live in vaults. But maybe it's not necessarily the quote unquote monsters that you're thinking of, like, or maybe it's a double entendre based on the next episode. But it could just be like human monsters. Like, these are really bad people that live in there, right? Not necessarily, scary monsters. That he was
to anybody
about.
living in beyond poverty, where every day you're having to like fight for your life, and the environment itself could kill you, let alone everything else in it. And people who just stay sealed in vaults could seem like monsters to you, right? However, so slogan was, when things look glum, vote for somebody from Vault 31.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's very weird. It's very, very it's just really weird. So
sus.
Yeah, very sus. So yeah, that was the last thing I had. Then the episode ends after they fall down. But I noticed there was no Cooper in this episode too. There was no Ghoul. So interesting.
Hey, dude, he's sleeping off that high of all those fucking chems he took in the last episode.
Yeah,
he went fucking crazy in that super duper mark, man.
Yeah. So the next episode, I know you put it on here, the Trap, is the next episode name because it kind of starts out again where you see an older version of Cooper. I say older, like before the bombs dropped, right? And he's like like we said, he's the vault boy. He becomes the vault tech spokesman, the product. As you find out later in the episode, everything's products. The war is a product. The vault's a product. We're products. So he's a spokesman and salesman of Vault Tech, which he got that in obviously from one being an actor. Pretty popular actor, I think. But also his wife obviously works at Vault-Tec. So so he does these weird things down in there about he does a commercial walking through Vault 4. And then he meets, I don't know why I wrote this down, but like Hawthorne, is that, for some reason, I feel like either from the game or earlier in this series that Hawthorne was a prominent name. Maybe I'm crazy on there.
It's in Fallout 76.
Is it okay? Maybe
there's
that's
a Hawthorne character in Fallout. He won't say Vault 76, Fallout 76.
I know. Yeah. So
to be fair, it starts in Vault 76, so I'm not too far off.
No. Yeah. So I wrote that down. Yeah. And then you can tell he's talking to everyone. Like, he does not give a shit about any of these people. He's got these thoughts in his head about whether this is actually good, like whether these vaults are good or not, or whether he should be on his guard. And of course, he's got his buddy, his communist manifesto buddy that's going to these commie meetings, trying to drag him there, right? Tell him, I know your wife works there, but they're just bad people, right? And whatnot. And he doesn't particularly trust any of them. He doesn't like any of them. But so yeah, they have this party or whatever. You get, like you mentioned to me before, you get to see who does the voice for the robots. So he shows up at the party to drink. He's trying to hit on some of the waitresses or whatever, and you're like, it's the voice. And he even says it. He's like, he got me doing these character voices for these damn robots or whatever he says. Can't remember his exact line, but yeah. After that, Cooper finally wakes up and gets fucking bum rushed by these sheriffs, right? which you find out is actually the government entity that's still there. I mean, it's whatever. He gets brung in and kind of there's a pretty good scene of dialogue of I like that scene with him and the president or whatever. Um,
So that guy's the
his
lawyer from
acting.
Billions.
Yeah, but his acting is so good in that scene. Like Walton Goggins acting in that scene is really good. I like the dialogue there, and everything that they had the back and forth or whatever. And um, I don't know. What did you think about that whole scene?
um, it was interesting because it's kind of funny to know like the factions like controlling the super duper mart, selling the Kims. I don't understand because, like I said, the guy I'm so used to seeing him in Billions, where he's a very very powerful lawyer, like. And now you're a sheriff or basically the president in this. Why you have two stupid guys like that running your super duper mart? I get, hiring's probably scarce, right? You don't have a lot of applicants in that pool, but maybe you could have done a little bit better in that case on that. But I like the scene. I like there was mutual respect from both Cooper and the president there, but then it's the wasteland, so it's going to come down to Cooper's not going to have people, he's not going to be looking over his back for people, right? So he's going to take them out.
Right. Yeah, he it was so gross. That whole scene was gross. Like, I don't know what type of food he was eating, but they had a cyst bucket, like that he was spitting out the fucking growths that would be in the meat, right? Like, it's just even the thought of it just makes me fucking gag.
You think there was a side of ass jerky?
Maybe, I don't know, but it was fucking gross. I know that. Yeah. So he pulls a picture off the wall there, and you kind of get the that may be later in the episode, because I think after that, like, they're still in discussion right before he kills the other two guys, and it cuts to both Maximus and Lucy wake up in this room. And it's a Tesla. They wake up in a vault that's underneath that medical center, right? And he's never seen a vault before, and she's like, "Oh, thank God, I'm at home." Like, she feels at home, right? And he's just like, "I don't know about this or whatever." And then, like, I'm gonna foreshadow this because by the end of the episode, their views have completely switched, where he is drinking the Kool-Aid, and because they get him this robe, and he's like, "A hot shower, what's that?" And like, he's eating all the sugar bombs and all the fucking Blamco mac and cheese. Like, the popcorn, like, he's eating that shit up.
He is
right?
he is sitting there in a robe eating popcorn, watching the TV that just has a waterfall on it. That is it.
Yeah.
Just has a waterfall.
The craziest shit. Kind of, yeah, that happens. And then also, like, there's a scene where both them two are still, before they let him out into the mix with everyone else in the vault, which is Vault 4, which is the same vault from the beginning of the episode that you see Cooper doing the show in, or whatever, or not show, the commercial in. But again, they treat sex as just casual. Like, he's like, she's like, or he was he say, "You smell good," right? Like, and she's like, "Oh, do you want to have sex?"
You smell good.
Oh. You want to have sex?
And I was like, "Holy fuck, if that worked!" Like, you smell good. If that's all I had to fucking say, like,
I'm gonna try and just see what happens. Next time I'm at the bar, I'm gonna go up to girl. You smell good.
Right.
You got a 50-50, right?
True, yeah. Because she goes for it. She's like, "Oh, do you want to have sex?" And he's like, I don't know. Or what does he say? Do you mean grab my cock? Is that what he says?
Yeah.
Or
So
like, I forget what he says.
it's the funny thing, because it's like you said with the vaults, they look at it as just a means of procreating to increase their numbers, right? Where out in the wasteland, like, it's not something that happens often. So he has these wild ideas that, oh no, it's going to get big and explode. He doesn't realize, oh yeah, all that's supposed to happen, but it's been told as like these horror stories, which, maybe he was thinking about, if you go in Raw, you're going to get the girl pregnant and then she's going to like fucking rack you for child support for 18 years.
You let him hit it raw. You didn't have second thoughts. Now you a single mom. You said I'm a haddish kid. Don't care if he's here or not.
It's an escalated version of that story.
She's like, it's supposed to happen, and preferably multiple times, I think. So,
okay, why did you switch camera angles like that was a public service announcement? That was...
I mean, it just for all you ladies out there, it's supposed to have multiple. Anyway, yeah, so I thought that was kind of funny again. And then he's like, no, whatever. And then, they lay down or whatever. She just is fine with it. But you find out when they introduce the overseer for that vault, which has been in a couple other films I can think of. He was in Anchorman. I can't remember his name, the actor's name, but
who, Cyclops?
Yeah. Because he does have, you find out he's got like a mutant eye. He's a mutant, right? And then after you find that, she starts noticing that everyone else there is not right. Even if they are surface dwellers, because he says, oh, most of them are from the surface. I mean, maybe, but every single one of them has some type of mutation, which in the game, you do get mutations. You can grow mutations that are bad or good. So, kind of depends. But you see someone with a nose on their forehead instead of an eye. And then you see someone with like fish gills and some other weird shit. So, and then of course he's like, don't go down to level 12. That's bad, right? Like level 12 is off limits, blah, blah, blah. Which means foreshadowing, we're definitely going to go down there and see what's there. So,
I love that the elevator just takes you down there. There's no security measures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go down there. Okay.
Yeah. She goes up to ask him and talk to him about this in the overseer's office, and he just like loses shit. Like, why would you even ask that? You need to go. Like, he's just like, it's like a completely, everyone's okay with, we shouldn't go down there, not even ask about it. But it's funny because Maximus calls him a cult. Like, he's like, this is a cult. And she's like, no, it's not. Everyone down here trusts everyone. He's like, whether it's down here, up there, like they're everywhere. This is a cult. And so there's a scene where there's like this event, and because Lucy's in like the elementary school, and this is where she starts seeing the timeline of Shady Sands, right, on the chalkboard and what they teach him. And right, she gets interrupted because there's this announcement or whatever. And so everyone's like, oh, you can come too. It'll be fine. So they come and they're like doing their, like chanting and shit. And then they just start taking off their clothes. I was like, okay. At first you think it'd be fine, but she doesn't actually take off her clothes. So it's not. And you just see nasty titties. And so
I was disappointed in that scene.
Yeah. You thought it would be good, but it's like they got the extras that just wanted to show their tits because they wanted it on TV. I don't know. It was bad. So that happens, and then they're chanting. It's like, oh, by the blood of blah blah, Shady Sands, they will be reborn. Some weird, crazy shit. And so you notice in the chant, the lady that kind of helped them out when they first arrived at Vault 4 takes the ashes, and she's like, we rub the ashes of them to bring. So they're rubbing these ashes, right? Like it's fucking Ash Wednesday in Catholic church. And you're like, oh, wait. Okay, so they had the eye there. They had the nose there, right? Oh, yeah. These fuckers are definitely getting like mutations because they're rubbing radiation particles from these vaporized bodies from an atomic blast on their bodies and drinking their blood, right? Like, this is exactly what's happening. They're mutating.
They are mutated, Seabass.
Really? Are they ill-tempered?
But maybe not so much because, or maybe they are. And they're for that because, yeah, Lucy gets curious and she goes downstairs in level 12 and finds a videotape she finds and watches of some chick giving birth to these fucking mutant swimmers or some shit. And then old dude, the nose head walks in and freaks out and grabs the harpoon gun, and she starts beating the shit out of all of them, and and it gets taken. So I don't know at this point. It again, it kind of reiterates the point that we knew there were vault experiments, because there's a point in this episode, I think, where Cooper's wife is like, I'm trying to get us in one of the good vaults, right? What the fuck does that mean? Like, one of the good vaults. Like, and she says one with management. And so, like, is there only one vault that controls all the other vaults that are actually doing the experiments, and all the experiments are controlled from the management vault?
One vault to rule them all.
Right. So I don't know. At that point, what's his face at the beginning of that episode? He tries to, because you mentioned this, he tries to go find he sees his power armor, and he wants to find, like, where's your all's power at? And he goes and finds the power core or fusion core. It's powering the whole damn place. Who knows how long it's been? But in the game, one power core, you may fucking walk 2 miles in a power suit, and your fucking fusion core is dead. So I don't know how this shit works.
Nobody does. I will say this though, and then we'll kind of give final thoughts here, because we're running a little long on this episode. If you notice, though, yes, they're rubbing the ashes and things, but the overseer is a relatively older gentleman, right? That's monocular. I mean, he's a cyclops. He's got one eye, so he's been that way for a very long time. Well, Sandy Shores didn't happen that long ago, because Maximus isn't that old, and he was a kid when it happened. So some of these mutations had to have existed before that, right?
Possibly, but also one thing I noted too, you don't see any kids in this vault.
Yeah, but if you think about it, several of the people that have the mutations are like, I'm not going, and gets a little rowdy, or whatever he said when he tells Lucy. He's like, it's for the surface dwellers. But a lot of the surface dwellers don't have the mutations. It's a lot of the normal people from the vault. Like, a lot of the surface dwellers look just fine. And they're like, yeah, it's something the surface dwellers do. You're welcome to. It gets a little too rowdy for my taste or whatever. He's the one with the mutation.
Well, true. It may just be him. I mean, yeah, true. I don't know. You've seen the other episodes, so
I know exactly how. So, but I'm just putting brown bread crumbs, right? I'm just like, let's.
What if I like white bread crumbs? I don't like wheat.
I don't like wheat either. That's literally just wheat bread, guys. Don't take it in. Some fucking bunny bread. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it on up here. This is a lengthy episode of the channel here. However, very good episodes of the show, so there's a lot to go over. All right.
Yes.
If you have made it with us this far, please consider giving this video a like. He's going to show you where. Did that last video I had to edit. All right. So where he's pointing.
Well, then why didn't you say, hey, why don't you point up to the top? Because that's where I'm going to put it.
There's more directions than just up or down, but either way, fine. Be unoriginal. But where he pointed, the like button there. Subscribe to the channel for more. We are getting ready to do episodes 7 and 8 as far as watching. Episode 3 and 4 just released as we are recording this. So there's that, as well as all of our DC and Marvel content coming out that you will get alerted to, because we definitely have a lot of good stuff coming up here in the near future. And as well, Mantis, for those of you who are gamers, which if you're watching Fallout, I want to have hope that you are, that are gamers. Mantis does have a gaming channel where he is currently, you're doing Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, right?
Yes, doing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. However, I do probably plan to play or stream some Fallout 76 gameplay as well. I've been kind of working on an overlay for that.
Is that why you were playing those in the beginning before we actually jumped on this?
It was.
I was like, is he trying to say I'm not doing good enough on the channel here? He's making his own shit, but I figured he might start streaming because he'd been playing it. So, okay.
Yeah, I've been playing it quite a bit, so I figured I might as well stream it and whatever. It's not brand new. I've played it before, and I'm quite far. I say quite far, not really. So I'm a ways into the game. I'm further into that game than I am Rebirth, but I've got both of those going. So yeah, come check it out if you like video games and Final Fantasy or Fallout. So
The Fallout stuff, I think, will be really, really great because first off, a lot of hype from the show, but also because it is it's MMO, so there's a lot of other players you run into. Whereas Final Fantasy is probably one of the most amazing games I've ever played, but it is a story-driven game where you are just interacting with all the NPCs.
Mhm.
But guys, if you love the Final Fantasy series like I do, absolutely amazing game. Go check out his channel. Link will be in the description below here. And Mantis, unless you have anything else, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video.
Nope. Hopefully, you guys come back and check out and check out the next video on this series for Fallout because it's going to be the last. It'll be the last one, right?
Yes, this will be the 7 and 8. They'll bring the finale, and then we'll wait another 2 years for the next season. So until then, guys, we will catch you on the next one.
Later.